So yeah, so when it comes to Ramadan, doing things, what they do wrong is by day 5, 10, or some, at least even day 3, they are excessively dehydrated, all right? And when you're excessively dehydrated, by day 3 or day 4, day 5, you'll get in a situation in where you just feel terrible, really. And you make the fasting process a lot harder than it needs to be at the end of the day, because when you are quite strategic with it and you follow the exact, from sunrise to sunset pattern, you want to try and get through that the best you can, because a month is no joke, right? A month is a long time, a lot of the time, to follow something. In terms of fasting without food, without fasting without food, it's easy. It's just water, really, is the problem, right? But then on top of that, because people don't know how to break their fast properly, the food becomes a problem. All right. So because then they end up not eating correctly in the window of eating, and then they feel all over the place. They don't feel great. So what would that look like for most people? Let's say a typical person maybe doing a bit of a wrong sequence and breaking their fast. They'll drink half a litre of water, or maybe a litre and a half, sorry, a 750 ml or something along those lines. And they'll go, okay, now I'm going to eat. And then I'll drink water later. Has anyone ever tried to drink 1.5 litres of water after dinner? Literally impossible. All right. Like I can drink a lot of water, and for me, trying to drink 1.5 litres of water on top of dinner is going to be a nightmare. You're going to feel very bloated, you're not going to feel right, and you're not going to hydrate properly. And it's also not good to digest food by pouring water on top of it. It's actually not really good for your digestion. And that's for any time, by the way. You should do all your hydration when you're not hungry or before you eat something. That's way better and know that for future reference, even outside of fasting. So with that being said, when they're going through those things where their hydration is under, then they eat, and then they don't digest the food properly, so they feel bloated. You can even feel sometimes bloated without eating bloating, like grains and things, right? You can sometimes, like we've went through this in previous calls, things like leafy greens, grains, oil, things can bloat you, right? We know that by now. If you're new here, we can go through that at another time. But you can still feel bloated with the right food if you're dehydrated. Why? Because your intestines are not, got any sort of water, any, these kind of things. And Sarah, yes, I'll explain leafy greens later. Remind me to answer that question for you. So with that being said, you have your 750 ml, even half a litre, and then you have food. You try to drink water on top. You end up getting not enough of the right food. You end up eating, whatever's for dinner, which is just like because you're fasting all day, you kind of eat more, with grains and different meats, which is fine, but like maybe in a different way. And then by, sahur, like maybe later on, if you're going to eat later, you then maybe just have something small. The problem with that is, let's say, for example, you have 30 grams of protein in the first meal, and then the second meal you end up having like another 25 grams. Or let's say you have 40 and then 30 to be nice. You're only having 70 grams of protein, right? And that's been nice, by the way. A lot of you sometimes won't even eat that because you're packing in. Because when a lot of people, like for me, I'll be very transparent. I don't get ravenous. I don't get like, oh my God, I need to eat. A lot of people do. And that's a lot of the time why people do have higher body fat, because they've came from that background. When you have that, you've not eaten all day, you get into a situation in where you break your fast, and then you get this kind of like, oh my God, I need to eat something. I'm tired, I'm lethargic. And you're not. But I'm not going to go down what's going on there, but you're not. So my breakdown for you would be, because you're not like that, you need to make sure you're getting enough protein in your diet. So let's use an example of what you should do. All right. So number one on this would be, you would break your fast, and this is for everybody. Like, this is not like just one person bets all. You need to drink about 1.5 litres for a woman, maybe around about 2 litres for a man, 2.5 liters. Like if I haven't drank water all day, I'm going to be able to smash 1.5 liters. Take your time after your fast. Like it's breaking fast. I think this year in Dubai is 6:15 p.m. or around about that time. So if you're gonna break your fast at 6:15 or so, don't eat until say 7:30 or 7:15, and just hydrate for that whole hour. And what will probably happen is you'll probably go to the bathroom for a pee. Maybe you'll go to the bathroom for something else as well because your digestion system moving, and that's what you want. That's a great sign. Okay, but 1.5 liters is not that much water. Okay, then 2 liters. A lot of women, from my understanding, when I watch them, they really struggle to drink water. they sip it. But so that's something maybe you guys need to just maybe sip it a little bit more. You need to concentrate on it a little bit more. For me, I literally could drink 2 liters of water in about 10 minutes. So you can take for that what you want, whatever tactic, but I would probably eat 6:15, let's say, for an hour. I would have 6:15 for an hour, and then you mean chug as soon as you have breakfast? No, I'm not sure. Let me answer that after. I'm not entirely sure what you mean. But 6:15 to 7:15, you just literally have 1.5 to 2 liters of water, right? Let's use that. Then after that, have a meal. Eat your protein first. Don't eat protein and grains together, because when you're hungry, you're going to eat both really quickly. You end up not getting enough protein in, and you'll feel really stuffed. There's nothing wrong with some grains. If you're with family and stuff like that, you have some potatoes, rice, this kind of stuff. It's not the end of the world, but try and predominantly get the protein in first. Like, I don't know if anyone's like me, but if I'm really hungry and I'm cooking, I was telling someone the other day, maybe I'll grab a couple dates as I'm cooking, and then I'm like, oh man, I've just ate 200 calories of dates. because I'm cooking, so that's a bit annoying, because then, well, for me, I don't want to have that. It's unnecessary to have that 200 calories. So try and just have the protein first. After that, around 7:15 or 7 o'clock, if you can get the hydration in first, and focus on having around 50 grams of protein for that first meal. Because then at least 50 if you're a woman, and maybe around about 60 grams to 70 grams if you're a guy. Then from there, you're going to obviously hydrate in between. All right.
How many grams of protein? 150 or?
No, how many grams of protein? I would focus on the grams of protein for, if you're fasting, would be around 50 grams to 60 grams for a woman.
Okay.
And that's not that bad. That's not too bad to eat 50 to 60 grams. For a man, you could easily have 70 or 80 grams. That could be, to give that perspective, to give that kind of practical form, it would be like, let's say you had a large ribeye steak and some Greek yogurt afterwards. That would be around about 70 grams of protein easily. All right. So that's how I would break it. And then for a woman, again, I would just make sure you get the right fats in as well. So you're going for the fattier meats, because you are going to be fasting all day. And if you do this correctly, you'll still be on a deficit of calories. So you'll probably lose some good body fat. So I'm saying you can actually do really well. You can actually use Ramadan to your benefit. So let's say 50 to 60 grams for women. Use a fattier meat. So like a salmon or any sort of red meat, lamb, whatever that you prefer. Okay. Then in between, so let's say that's 7:30 to 8:30, that's you done. All right, say that's 7:50, 8:15. You don't have to be that long. So hydrate first, eat. That takes you to about 8:15. Then I would just hydrate in between. I'd probably sip water. Take that, if you've drunk 1.5 liters of water, take that up and maybe another 750 ml. Try and write this down, guys, because most people are not going to read this recording. So you can actually have some format and structure when you finish. Don't just try and remember, because you end up just guessing. So I would follow this. So you have 1.5 liters of water before you start, have your food, then have another, say, 750 ml. Because with structure, what you'll find is it'll be a lot easier when you actually, because a lot of people, if you're like anything like me, when someone gives me structure and says, do this, I'm really good at just following it and doing it as it is. I don't like being subjective to things. I like just having an actual rule, and I follow that rule. And it doesn't, if it's not 1.5 liters and you have 1.3, it's not the end of the world. If it's not 750 ml and you have half a liter, it's not the end of the world. It depends on how big you are. If you're a small woman or you're a bigger woman, obviously use accordingly. Use your common sense with that one. So that would be 750 ml. And then you're going to have another meal before bed. And remember, the reason people can't eat before they sleep is because they eat things that bloat them all the time. So they go to bed like, oh, I'm so full. Yeah, because you eat tons of grains and you eat stuff that bloats you. So obviously you're going to feel like you can't move. That's why 95% of people feel terrible before they go to bed. Whereas I could eat a meal and I could be sleeping after 20 minutes. And I wouldn't wake up and I wouldn't have any indigestion issues because you'll eat the right food. Again, I would probably, since you're fasting all day, if you feel like you're not eating the right food and you're still having things that you shouldn't really be eating, go for a chicken, like a lean meat. And if you feel like you're actually on point, again, go for the second fattier meat, another fattier meat. I can summarize this for you, by the way, but this is pretty straightforward. Go for another fattier meat. So that's up to you. Again, you have to understand, don't, kid yourself on and be straight with yourself. So I'd have meal one, I'd have a fatty meat. Meal two, I'd have another fatty meat if you've been following correctly. And again, I would finish with fruit after these, or even have a protein shake after. If you eat like that, you're going to get the right amount of calories, like a good amount of calories and the right calories. You're not going to feel bloated and you're going to feel pretty good all day. Then you can ask questions in that moment, just when I'm finished. That takes you to sleep. You go to sleep. All right, that's fine. And then let's say some of you, I've noticed, I've been here for about 12 years or so I kind of get the gist from a lot of people. Some of you wake up before sunrise and you would have something. You could, but again, I would maybe not have anything, or at least like another 1.5 liters of water sit there, or I say 1.5, use what you can, but get as close as you can. You don't want to, then that takes you to sunrise, you wake up, you'll be drinking 1.5 liters of water before sunrise. That'll probably take you to 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon before you're even that bothered. All right, so you've only got another 4 hours or 4.5 hours of being a little bit thirsty. And then, as I said, when you wake up before sunrise, have the water for sure. And if you want anything on top of that, like food and stuff, have it. But you should be focusing on the water, because as I said at the start of the call, it's not difficult not to eat. It's only difficult not to be dehydrated. And then second point is, it's only difficult with food after 4 or 5 days if you set your nutrition up wrong, because you're lethargic, your hormones are all over the place because you've set it up wrong. All right. And that's why people find the fasting so difficult. And even in like Christianity, like they're told like to fast as well, right? So look, everybody in the world has some sort of fasting in their life as well, and everyone does it in different ways. But hydration is just going to be the biggest part to it. Yeah, and then that's probably the best sequence I can give you. Is there any kind of questions? I know, can I start with Sarah, because I know you asked kind of first, and then we can. So let me answer the leafy greens later. But you asked, you chug as soon as you have breakfast. What is it you mean by that? Sarah's still there. Is Sarah still there?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Sarah.
I turned on the camera and said, I wanted to ask, in terms of water, you were mentioning 1.5 liters. Are you saying like we drink that immediately once we break fast? Is that what you meant?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Would that be difficult for you?
I think it should be kind of okay.
Yeah.
But we usually also have dates during that time when we open our fast.
Yeah, we open our fast with dates, and then we have maybe some soup, right?
Sure. So that's my point, right? Like, it's when you're having these things, you're going away from the I mean, if it's a must, like you have to have dates. Like I know some people don't break their fast with dates. Like it's a kind of like it's not like a dead rule. You have to use dates from my experience. But at the same time, I would just hydrate and then have the dates after. Like it
can be either dates or water.
Yeah, I just don't see the net. If it's not like a really like a thing that you're going to do in terms of like it's a must, thing, then it's like against your culture or something, then I don't see the need for the dates. I just think I have the dates after you hydrate. The most important thing is the hydration. You're not needing food that badly. Like you can, I know people who have done 7-day fasts, like you're fine. Your food is not your problem. Like I want to get that straight with you guys, right? It's just people say, I'm so tired, but just doing it wrong. So have the water, and then if you want dates, fine. But again, you're shooting your sugar levels up. As I said to you, use your choice. It's a cultural thing and things, you have to have dates, have them. I'm not going against that. But at the same time, if it's an option, I would rather you had protein first, a fattier protein. I usually have the protein first anyway. I eat dates all the time, so I have them after my meal. So I would use that as a focus. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
And also before sunrise, is it fine if we can have a fruit? Like
yeah,
probably.
exactly. That's what I said. So if you're having 1.5 liters of water before sunrise and you want food, then you want some fruit, then have it. Like I would go for, again, I would, if you had the option, I would go for a starchy fruit, like a banana or something. It's going to feel a little bit more fuller than like a
Okay.
watermelon or like an apple or something.
Okay.
Tracy, did you want to ask something? Because you had your.
Yes. Can you hear me, Carlo? Hello.
Yeah. Yes, I can.
Yeah. I was just wondering now, for suhoor time, this is now before sunrise, right? What is your take on having like, let's say for example, oats and Greek yogurt and berries, bananas, these type of things, eggs, like boiled eggs, for example, or whatever type of eggs. Yani to keep us full. Let me say it like that. Is it okay still?
Yeah, I would say so. I just think that it's just as long as you're having the right produce. My problem is, like, as I said, I've been to a lot of invitations to people's houses and things like that where they break their fast, and I'm like, I get it. Like it's like Christmas, right? But like Christmas is a couple few days. Like it's a whole month, right? So it's a little bit different. So you're gonna have. I just don't. I can see why a couple of days. Like if people eating badly over Eid, it's a few days, fine. But like a whole month is not good. So you should definitely be focusing on the quality of food. So if you're having oats, bananas, oats, fruits, etc., Greek yogurt, eggs before sunrise, absolutely fine. It's, remember, as I always teach you guys, it's always the ingredients. I don't really care about timing. I just care about the ingredients. I mean, I would, if I'm going to be straight, I would probably still go for a more of a higher protein. I wouldn't have oats, but honestly, have oats if you want it. If you feel like having eggs at 5 o'clock in the morning is too much, have some oats. It's not good. It's fine. And I would just hydrate before you eat that though. Don't just eat that because you're going to feel not good especially with oats, because they'll expand in your stomach and you're going to find it hard to hydrate after that.
Got it. Yeah, and then the water part, Carlo, like I don't know, it's just something that I've recently read up on about. Since you said 1.5 liters or 1.5 liter for breaking the fast, that for me personally, that's very, very difficult. So what I've learned, and this is just a tip maybe for everyone, to consume, like, sip on 250 mils throughout iftar time. And if I say throughout iftar time, it usually takes me about 1.5 hours just to sip on that 1 liter of water. So 250 ml, 500 bottle, right? 500 ml. So in 30 minutes, that 500 ml is already done. It's just a tip from my side. That usually works for me.
Okay,
I mean,
let me take an example. That's fine as long as you can consume 3 to 3.5 liters of water in that time. But like if you're someone who's not finishing that because you're full and you're like, I can't finish 3 liters of water, then it's purely because you're full. So that might work for some, for sure, but again, others it might not. So for me, I can't do that. And so I'm just giving you my experience and experience with other people. So I agree with you, Tracy. It's both sides for sure, definitely. So take what I've said, guys, or take what Tracy's tried. Try both, but I usually have found what I've suggested a little bit easier. I have, as I said, noticed with women, they do find it harder to consume a lot of water. So fair enough. I respect that. So, but at the same time, try, or even if it's not 1.5 liters before you break your fast, at least have a liter. But again, you're finishing in your thing. If you're not finishing 3 to 3.5 liters of water within that time window, then you can drink. Then you need to find another tactic. So if you're doing the sipping waves, Tracy said you can't do it, go to my way and try my way. Okay. That's what I would say. And also, if you want to have electrolytes in there, that might help you as well for the next day to have a little bit more salts. So it might help you even more with some electrolytes in there. So Sophia, please.
Okay, I have two questions. So the first question is about the gym. So when do you suggest we go to the gym? Because I saw this, there was like this video on TikTok and this trainer said, oh, you should go to the gym before you break your fast, but don't run, like walk, because apparently running burns carbs and you want the carbs, but the walking burns fat. Like, is that correct?
I mean, you don't really have to. I wouldn't go. So I'll give an example, right? Like if you're someone who's like, they always tell people like, if you train fasted and you're not no food in your body, you'll burn more fat. And at the end of the day, I mean, there might be a very, very, very small truth to that, where like people will burn a little bit more on a fasted basis, but it's nothing to think about. At the end of the day, it's what you eat will determine how much fat you lose. Training is there for building muscle mass, regulation of hormones, your fitness levels, heart health, all the rest. But when it comes to your timing of breaking your of training, I would, for you, Sophia, I would try maybe morning time training and then see how you feel, or then I would try or just before you break, an hour before you break your fast, I would try that. In terms of the running aspect, I mean, if you do this correctly, I don't see the issue for still sticking to the same program. But if you need to go take it to the cardio to a walk, or replace it with another weighted exercise, then fine. But I think a lot of the time people are basing it around their past experience because they have not felt good throughout Ramadan before. So now you try this with new information, you might feel pretty good. So it's hard to tell. Does that answer your first question?
Yeah, do you suggest we like work with the same weights that we do when we
absolutely.
don't fast? Like,
yep, I think so. I just think you have to determine how you feel. There's this thing, what's it called? It's the I can't remember the abbreviation, but it's basically a scale of how you feel. So some days, like if you don't sleep properly, just in general, take away Ramadan, etc., you don't feel properly. Maybe you didn't have a good sleep. Are you going to hit the same heavy weight or increase the weights you did the previous week? Maybe not, because you're going to risk your aspect of injury. So you have to base it around how you feel. So go with based how you feel. Don't be too, I will say, you know me, probably know me by now, but don't be too soft with it. Don't be like, oh, I'm just, because some people make it up in their head. Like I had a guy the other day saying to me, like he was like, he was doing a bit of a fast with water for something, and he was like, I'm tired, and I was like, you know what? If you keep telling yourself you're tired, you're going to be tired. Like you are what you tell yourself. I'm not saying you have to be deluded, but try and not fall into that bracket of just thinking that you're more tired than you actually are. So I would stick to the same weights. If you genuinely are tired, then knock them down a bit. It's not the end of the world. But see how your body feels.
okay. Yeah, that answers my question. Thank you. The second question is about, okay, so overall you suggest we drink 3 to 3.5 liters in the window that we have. Okay, great. That's it. Thank you.
Yeah, 3 to 3.5 liters. Drink it the way I suggested before you break your fast. Make sure you finish the basis of all the water before you eat a single thing. Or the way Tracy mentioned, she prefers to sip it maybe a little bit, or a mixture of both. But I would try them all. What my point is just having food and then sipping water, I've just found not great for digestion, and I found it harder to actually do that. But that's mine personally and a few other people, but try both.
Okay, thank you.
No worries. Then we've got Gigi.
Yes, hi Carlo.
Hello.
I was honestly thinking like Tracy as well. Like I understand the whole water concept, but if I'm being realistic and just me knowing, how much it does take me a long time on a regular day to like drink water. So I just know it's unrealistic for me to drink, a liter and a half of water before or right when I break my iftar. But I do also want to try to drink, like a minimum of 500 ml before that, and then kind of take it into these little sips throughout. Another thing is
Can I say one thing on that? Just go to 750 ml then. Just a little bit more than that. See if you can do a little bit more than that's what I'm saying. Maybe combine it all, but maybe a little bit more than usual will help you. This gives you a head start.
All right. Another thing is, so I don't usually have a second meal. Like I have my iftar, and like I don't have a second meal before going to sleep, or I don't even wake up for sunrise. So I do usually, focus on the protein when I eat iftar, and then after my protein, if I'm so hungry, I do whatever salad, veggies, or whatever grains is in there. And then I can grab like a Greek yogurt, like maybe an hour or so later with some fruits. But that's pretty much it. Like, because I sleep early, so I cannot have kind of more food
Are
in
we
my
choosing
system.
with the model or no?
Sorry.
I can't find her.
Need to put someone on mute.
So is that enough? Like, is that good? Even if I like don't eat like a second meal?
So if I was you, I would do what you said. Have your protein, measure your protein, see how much you consume, give it a try, see what you actually are consuming protein in terms of grams of protein, like on Saturday, for example, and try and see if you can get yourself to 100 grams. Your first meal, you could take up to 50 to 60 grams. Okay. And then second meal with your Greek yogurt, you could put some protein, put maybe a scoop of protein powder through the Greek yogurt and mix it.
Okay, that's a good idea. Yeah.
And then that could be another 30 grams of protein. So you're talking nearly 90 grams of protein. You're going to feel way better, and you don't need to get up. And if you're eating 90 grams of protein, like my thing as well is like, I actually do believe that people should be eating pretty much, well, not should. It's been, like, look back in history, like thousands of years ago, it seems like people were eating pretty much one meal, right? People weren't putting, killing something then putting it into the fridge. Like, they didn't really have that option. So it's like, I think people were eating more of a fasted thing where they eat a lot of the right food and then they would feel great for like a day or two. It's different now. We're in this very consumption world, so it feels like we need to eat more than we actually should. And obviously, if the fact is sometimes the world gets us all, we put excess body fat on that we shouldn't have, and that's through probably the way the system that we live in now works. It's like every corner is like, come on, consume me, ice cream here, there's like this there, there's something else over there. Like, it's much harder to navigate than it was way back in the day, I'm sure. So I think that would be a good tactic for you, Gigi. Just make sure that you have that 50-60 grams for your first meal. Just make sure you kind of know exactly what that is, and then have your 30 to 35 grams through Greek yogurt. Have low-fat Greek yogurt or zero-fat Greek yogurt, and then with like a scoop of protein powder, mix it in. I think you'll feel pretty good after that.
All right, Carla, thank you.
No worries. Nurhan?
Yes, Carlo, my question was around how many grams of protein we should be consuming throughout, but I think you've already just answered just now.
No worries. Okay, no worries. If nothing else, then I can.
Yeah, no, that's all from my side. I think we're just gonna have to test it out, honestly. Like, I mean, I've heard different views, like from your side and from the ladies, and I really think it's for me at least, what wasn't working out in the past was not the water or the how you're eating the food throughout. Like, for example, you don't suggest having a heavy suhoor, but for me it has worked in the past and it kept me pumped throughout my fasting. But I think what hasn't worked for me in the past was the fact that I wasn't eating enough protein. So I want to test that out this year.
No, I'm not saying not have a heavy. I'm not saying not have a heavy suhoor. I'm just saying that it's going to be hard for some people to consume more food. For me, I could, if I was doing it, I would be able to consume 2 meals in that window pretty easily, and I would be able to easily hit all my grams of protein. So, as you said yourself, I would just hit the grams of protein that's necessary. If you're having a suhoor and you can have a lot of food, have it. But just have the right food, as you said.
Yeah, absolutely. No, but I think for most of the people here would agree. But with fasting, generally, it's so much harder to eat in the first few hours, like the first 3 to 5 hours. It becomes easier to actually eat later in the day. But anyways, I think it works differently for everyone.
You remember that may be because you're being dehydrated, because I actually did a fasting about 4 or 5 years ago. I did the whole thing for about 2 weeks, and I did exactly like everyone. And I just found that it was, that's why I understand it, because I've done it. exactly like that, like with no water, no nothing. And I agree, it's the 2 to 3. I noticed that other people struggle to eat the food in the first meal, and it's usually due to the fact is they've not hydrated properly. So your intestines and stuff cannot cope with the food. They just can't digest it. So you just feel a lot more heavy.
Yeah. Fair enough. I think I'll have to test it out again this year.
Yep, test it. See if you can get the
Yeah.
higher amounts of water in you first. I don't think people should be. Basically, my point is people shouldn't be rushing so fast to grab the food. That's all my main focus is there. I just don't think it's. If you give yourself an extra half an hour to hydrate, that's going to make a hell of a lot of a difference, and you can do well. So see how you get on, and we can always communicate that as you go. Lamise.
Hey guys, so I had a question. I know myself, and I know for sure I cannot get 2 meals in before going to bed. So I just wanted to ask if I had to prioritize the type of food I'm eating so I'm not tired the next day, would you advise me to do the first meal, as you said, like the fatty meat, and then leave the second meal for sunrise? Or would that be a little too heavy? Should I be eating fruit instead or something a bit lighter? Or
I don't think it's too heavy. I think it's just whatever you can cope with. I think that, I mean, so if you have, like, let's say you eat at 7 or 30, would you not be able to eat another thing before bed? You say at all?
I think it would be hard because I'm pretty sure I'm going to be sleeping a bit early because I'm still working at 9 o'clock in the morning, and I'll have to wake up at sunrise. So most probably I'm going to be going to bed by like 10, maybe.
Okay, so do you wake up for sunrise for prayer, or do you wake up for sunrise for anything in particular, or just get up at that time?
No, so I would probably get up for prayer and then get up a bit earlier to get something to eat because I'm usually hungry when I wake up. So then
I would do that then. I would just do the same sequence. I would have one meal and then another meal. I would have maybe have something before bed, maybe some Greek yogurt to get maybe a little bit of it, or a protein shake or something to get a little bit of extra protein in. And then at sunrise, when you wake up, I wouldn't have fruit again. I would have more protein. Like I ate meat for 450 days. I didn't have any carbs. I was in ketosis for literally, that's it. I didn't eat anything else. I felt great. So I know for a fact it's due to the meat is where you're going to get all your nutrients. Fruit is great, but it's just an extra bonus. So I mean, if you can consume protein on your after you break your fast, then have your meal, and then maybe some Greek yogurt before bed, and then as sunrise comes, have another, maybe some eggs or some sort of something like that. You're going to feel you'll be absolutely fine.
Okay, so fruit is not as important to have enough energy because I still plan to be at the gym before breaking the fast. So I don't want to be getting dizzy or anything.
Oh, you will not get dizzy. You can't. You're not going to get dizzy unless you're dehydrated. That's what I tried to say at the start of the call. Was like people only are dizzy from the hydration because, as I said, I've even done myself 3-day fasts, and I don't feel dizzy at 3 days. I haven't eaten any food, and I feel absolutely fine. Just purely hydration, and that's where your dizziness is going to come from, unless you're like extremely lean. But I do think it's important, well, because it is a whole month, because that's 3 days I explained, but if you're doing a whole month then and you're on a deficit, then definitely make sure that you're just getting in that window enough of the right protein. That's all.
Okay, all right, thank you.
No problem. And try these things, guys. Give it a try, and try it once or like for a couple of days at least, each one. Because honestly, what we've discussed today will stick. Because this shouldn't be as difficult as people sometimes have made it. And again, a lot of the time, because people are going through that, they've made it a lot harder than it necessarily needs to be. But that's the whole point of these calls, is to give you that kind of information and give you that help. That will make it a lot easier for you. There has a couple of people raised their hands, but I don't know if they raised it again. Did you want to ask another thing, Gigi? Because you raised your hand again, or are you? No, you're the Bushra. You still got your hand up. Did you want to ask again, or do you?
Yeah, I wanted to check. So a lot of people say that you shouldn't eat anything before going to the bed. So do you think that maybe
But as I was explaining earlier, I don't think you should eat and go straight to bed. But like half an hour before bed should be fine.
Okay, that's okay then.
But it's with the right food. Remember, if you eat the wrong food and go to bed after an hour, you'll probably still feel bloated if it's the wrong food. So that's why, like, it is important to go for your higher fattier meats or your meats, etc., because those things are what your body should consume. I mean, a lot of people are eating so many grains, breads, different stuff, and their body's just bloated all the time. And they're like, "Why do I feel so bloated?" I'm like, "Well, it's probably because you're eating things that a human body shouldn't really consume." So
Can we have a cheat day every week? Like
a
one
day, I wouldn't recommend a day
Like,
because
during iftar, like at least every
yeah, like I mean, obviously, like if you once a week, if you want to have like that meal of your choice once a week, then it should be fine. Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't see why that would be an issue. Just standard once a week. If you're having, even now, like I'll normally have once a week something of my choice, like, and it's fine once a week. But my point is that people just eat very, way too much of the wrong foods all month, and a month's a long time. And
yeah.
and I've talked to people a lot about this on your journey, is building momentum, because a whole month plus maybe go on holiday twice a year, plus there's maybe times where you're really busy at work, plus then you end up never really getting the momentum. So it's important that you navigate this part correctly, and it will teach you quite a lot in that time. So yeah, I would definitely recommend, like, once a week, fine, have one of those things, but really be careful throughout the other times. Just stick to the same plan. There's not much more you can change. And then, guys, just in terms of your training as well, like, again, it's up to you. Some people have said to me they're going to train in the morning still, and I think, I mean, personally, if I was to do it, I would still do that, and then that's it. But like for some other people, they prefer probably the majority of people prefer like an hour before they break their fast, which is the majority, I would say. But you can try both. So I wouldn't say there's exactly the right way to do that. Some people are different than others. So if anyone wants to try, then try either one. Or you can even try, like, if you're online here and you're not got the sessions in Dubai, then you could always try like maybe midday as well. It's always an option too. Has anyone got any other questions, guys, before we finish? Because that's 40 minutes we've been going on for so long, so far, sorry. Any other questions? If not, leafy greens. Okay, I'll answer this last one. Leafy greens. The reason I say like things like kale, spinach, etc., the problem with those things are they cause they can cause people a lot of like gut disruption, bloating, etc. And they've been sold to you as superfoods, and they're not superfoods at all. Your superfoods are your fattier meats. I know that's probably, you want to strangle me because I say that all the time, but at the end of the day, the facts are the facts, right? That's why, some cultures get more sick than others, some because they don't have enough meat. Some people in general, even on a day-to-day basis, where they've been brought up with maybe really low protein diets, they struggle with building muscle mass and athleticism. It's pretty obvious that the human being should be eating those things. In terms of leaves and stuff like that, they're not really supposed to be consuming leaves at that quantity. There's absolutely nothing wrong with them sometimes, obviously. Like, I quite like a salad sometimes. I quite like different things like that on occasion, but I don't really put it as the basis of my shopping. I eat the things that are necessary, and then I just if there's times where there's vegetables and stuff, I'll eat them. I'm not scared of veg. Like, but for those who do bloat though on like leafy greens and stuff, just be very careful, because it can cause actually some people really to bloat and actually cause a lot of problems for some people. Not everyone, but for some. So I hope that's answered your question, Sarah. But guys, I hope that was helpful. I've recorded this, so I hope that was helpful. Do my best to try and give you that kind of structure. I think structure in these times is really important, especially, as I said, it's quite a long time to be doing these things. Ramadan's the month, so and then you have Eid afterwards, and people usually use that as a bit of a celebration, so it ends up being more than a month of kind of unstructured setup. So I think it'd be really important for you guys to use this opportunity to learn a little bit more on a deeper aspect of how to construct over this time, and see if you can apply some of the stuff we've discussed today. If you've not taken notes on the call, please try straight after the call while it's fresh in your mind to note down a little bit of a structure so you know what you're sticking to, and that will help you a lot, and it will actually benefit your training so much, and it will keep you on track. And actually, I've seen the people who have followed this. I've got clients who have followed this exactly what I've suggested, and have got further results in terms of body fat in Ramadan. They've actually dropped a lot of body fat in that time. But just please don't, it's not here to starve yourself by any means, but you want to be making sure you're getting the right protein in the times that you've got the window to eat. So thanks very much, guys, and have a great Ramadan. And
Thank you for your time,
day.
Carlo.
No worries.
Thank you, Carlo.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Carlo.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys. Thanks, Sophia. Thanks, Lamise.
Bye.
Hi, Tracy.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye, Carlo.
Bye-bye. Thanks, everyone.